Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. Today's video is going to be my mid-month wrap-up. All the books that I've read so far in August. I've read 10 books, which is pretty typical I think for me. It's not more or less than I usually do. I would say 10 is probably pretty standard. And like always, I'm going to be doing my stats and everything in my end of the month wrap-up. So without further ado, let's talk about the books. The first book that I read this month was Girls with Bright Futures by Tracy Dobmeyer and Wendy Katzman. I was really pleasantly surprised by this. Basically, it follows three high school seniors, three girls that are in this elite school that are all applying to Stanford, and it follows their moms and the lengths that they go in order to get their daughters into the school. And it's a crazy story. And at first when I read the description for this, I was like, oh, I don't know how I feel about three women or three girls competing for education. I don't know how that story is gonna sit with me, but it was so much more than just that. It was I cried like a baby at some points, and I was so pleasantly surprised at this book. I really enjoyed it a lot more than I thought I would going into it. I gave it 4.25 stars. Then I read Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows. I'm not going to review this. I'm not going to talk about it really. I'm just letting you know that I read it. Next book that I read was Slang, the Vampire Conqueror by Carissa Broadbent, and I think I might have a bit of a hot take for this one. I know Carissa Broadbent is so popular for her Serpent in the Wings of Night series, but I'm trying not to read as many series, so I decided to pick up this standalone book because I'd heard that it's still really well done. Everyone seems to really like this book still, but for me it just did not work. I think part of it is that I went into it thinking it was a fantasy romance, which it is, but I was thinking more it was going to be more romance heavy than fantasy heavy, and maybe it's just more fantasy than romance. So maybe that's the issue. That part of the issue was my fault, but I don't know. I found it so slow and boring for so long of the book. It really only started to pick up at maybe 60-70% of the way through the book. But before that, I was trudging through it. It took me so long to get through this book. And it is over 500 pages, so that doesn't help. But I don't know. Let me know if you've read both and if you think I should still read Serpent in the Wings of Night or not, because I don't know, if it's like this book, I don't know if I'll like it. So I gave it 2.75 stars. Then I read All Good People Here by Ashley Flowers. This is sort of a true crime thriller book. It is very similar to John Benet Ramsey, I think that's her name. Sorry if I didn't say that right, but if you have listened to true crimes or any podcasts or any stories before, you've definitely heard of this story. So there was a lot of elements in this story that took place that pulled from that. So there was, for at the beginning of the book, I thought it was kind of slow because of that, because I knew all the things about that story already, and I thought it was just going to end up being basically a not a retelling, because we don't know who the actual murderer was, but basically a theory. Anyways, it ended up being nothing like that. It was very twisty at the end. I didn't see the ending coming at all. I was very surprised, and if you have watched my channel before, you know that if I can predict the end of a thriller, then it ruins the thriller for me. So the fact that I couldn't predict the ending of it really made up for the beginning half of the book, but I still gave it 3.5 stars overall. Then I read Garnet Flats by Devney Perry, and I loved this book. I went into it hearing really mixed reviews. For the most part, actually, I was hearing negative reviews about this one, compared to the first two, but I loved it. I love Talia and Foster. So Talia is the Eden for the series, and Foster is a professional fighter, and they met when she was in school, right before medical school, for, I guess, her undergrad, and they were dating for quite a while and it was really serious. But then right before she was moving away for medical school, Foster told her that he was going to end up marrying her best friend. So obviously they parted ways very on very bad terms, but then 7 years later he is showing up at her house begging for a second chance, and it's so cute and so angsty, and I loved it. I was eating up this story. I absolutely adored it. I will say that I don't think the romantic suspense element in this book was as strong as the first two, but I still enjoyed it. So I gave it 4.75 stars. Then I read The Wall of Winnipeg by Mariana Zapata. This is a Bookstagram darling, and I feel like I would have liked this book a lot more if I had read it like at the beginning of my romance reading journey. But at this point, I feel like I've read some better slow burns than this, but I did really like it and I can see why it's so popular. My issue was kind of with Aiden in this book. I felt like he was just kind of boring. Like, I didn't really understand the hype around him. I just kind of found like he was a boring character. Like, it's cute and everything, and I did still really like it, but this is and when people talk about Mariana Zapata being a slow burn, like, I read All Roads Lead Here, but this is so much more of a slow burn. Like, I really don't think that they get together until like actually the last chapter before that blog. Like, it's a slow burn. It's like 96% of the way through the book. So I can see why people love this book, but like, it wasn't like mind-blowing to me. So I ended up giving it 4 stars. Okay, and then I read All the Lies by St. Abbey. This is the 4th book in the Mindfuck series, and I love this series. I loved this book. That twist ending was shocking to me. I read a bunch of these books as in a reading vlog, so I won't go too far into them because I did speak about them for a long time in that video, but I really liked this one. The ending did feel like a little out of character to me for the male main character, for Logan, so that threw me off a little bit, but the ending was so twisty and I immediately had to pick up the 5th book. I also switched to the audiobooks for these ones, and I really recommend the audiobooks. They're really short and really well done, and just like will 100% grip you from beginning to end. So I definitely recommend the audiobook. But yeah, I give it 4.5 stars. I really loved this. Then I read Jasper Veil by Devney Perry, and again, I really love the Even series. I'm so glad I finally actually picked them up. I think these books have been on my TBR for every single month of the year so far, and I finally picked up the rest of the series that I own, at least. This one follows Eloise and Jasper. Eloise is the owner of the Eloise Inn. She's the Eden in the series, and Jasper is best friends and trained Foster from the book previous to this. So they meet when they're in Vegas for Foster's fight, and they end up getting drunk and getting married at a chapel in Vegas. So it's sort of, and Eloise, like, if you've read the previous books, you know that she's like had to be really responsible in order to get her parents' blessing in order for her to get full ownership of the Eloise Inn. So they pretend to continue to be married so that she looks like it wasn't just like a drunken whim and they actually like each other. So it's really, really cute. I really like them. I don't know what it was about this book, but it didn't pull me in as much as Garnet Flats did. This one feels like it ranked around the same place as like Indigo Ridge did for me. I still really liked it. There wasn't really a romantic suspense element in this book. I wouldn't say, like, it was something very small, so I wouldn't call this one romantic suspense, even though I think the whole series is considered romantic suspense. In comparison, this one like does not have romantic suspense at all. So I did really like it. Just in comparison to Garnet Flats, it fell a little flat for me, so I give it 4.25 stars. Then I finished the Mindfuck series by St. Abbey with Painted All Red, and I loved this. It had every single thing that I could have wanted. I was like laughing, crying, like the ending was perfect to me. I absolutely loved the ending. I know some people don't like the ending for this, but I thought it was absolutely perfect. It wrapped everything up for me. I couldn't end it in a better way. And the series is so addicting. I kind of wish I had read it all back to back, but I just don't really do that with series anymore. So I'm glad I finally finished it because this is like such a good series. Yeah, so I gave this one 5 stars. I can't say anything bad about it. I loved it. I had such a blast reading these. Okay, and last but not least, I read The Love Voyager by Lynn Painter. I did really like this one. It feels weird because it's written in third person, but there is dual POV, like it switches POVs even though it's written in third person, which feels like a really weird choice to me. I don't remember that happening in the first book, but it must have, because like, I don't know why. I don't think she would have switched the stylings between the two books in the series. This one was super cute. There's a lot of really like fun romance tropes that were brought up, and there's like Taylor Swift references, which I just absolutely loved. There's so many cute elements about this book. This is a very much like fun, easy summer read, but I was getting really annoyed with Jack because he just was not communicating at all. So I was just getting really frustrated for like a big part of the like wedding part. I ended up giving it 3.75 stars. Okay, and those are all the books I've read so far in August. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Let me know in the comments down below what your favorite book that you've read so far in August is. Subscribe if you're not already, and give this video a thumbs up. It really helps support my channel, and I will see you in my next one. Bye guys.